Commander Ka of the Galactic Hegemony stood before the massive viewing screen aboard his flagship, watching Earth's orbital defense platforms rotate peacefully in the void. The blue-green planet below looked deceptively calm, its cities glowing softly against the darkness of space. For 3 standard cycles, the hegemony had been negotiating humanity's entry into their empire, and the humans had been surprisingly cooperative. "Their military registration documents are incomplete," announced Intelligence Officer Vex Prime, her 4 arms manipulating holographic displays with practiced efficiency. "They've listed basic infantry units, standard naval vessels, and conventional aircraft, nothing that would concern us." Ka nodded, his scaled hide shifting color slightly to indicate satisfaction. The hegemony had conquered 47 species across the galaxy, and humans appeared to follow the same pattern as the others. A relatively young species with adequate technology but lacking the refined military doctrine that came from centuries of galactic warfare. "What about their special forces?" asked General 9, his massive bulk casting shadows across the bridge. As the hegemony's chief military strategist, he had learned to look beyond surface capabilities. Vex Prime's tentacles flickered through data streams. "They mention something called specialized units, but provide minimal details. Standard protocol for newer species trying to maintain some dignity in their surrender." The bridge crew shared what passed for laughter among their various species. They had seen this before. Young civilizations always tried to hold back something, some small military secret they believed would give them leverage. The hegemony had learned to be patient with such delusions. On the communications array, Ambassador was concluding another session with the human diplomatic team. The humans had agreed to the standard terms: full military disclosure, resource allocation quotas, and integration of their forces under hegemony command. It was almost too easy. "Sir," called the sensor operator, "we're receiving a transmission from the human delegation." The main screen shifted to show a middle-aged human woman in a simple blue uniform. Admiral Sarah of the Earth Defense Force looked tired but determined as she addressed the hegemony fleet. "Commander Ka, we've completed our preliminary military assessment as requested. Our data packages contain information on our conventional forces, including specifications on infantry equipment, naval vessels, and atmospheric craft. We trust this will satisfy your requirements for the integration process." Ka activated his translation matrix, though he had been learning human languages during the negotiations. "Admiral, your cooperation has been noted. However, our intelligence suggests your military registry may be incomplete. We require full disclosure of all military assets." A strange expression crossed the human's face. It took Ka a moment to recognize it as something between amusement and regret. "Commander, I assure you that we've provided information on all military units currently available for registration under Galactic Hegemony protocols." "You speak carefully, Admiral," observed General 9, leaning into the transmission range. "Are there units that fall outside these protocols?" Admiral was quiet for a long moment, seeming to weigh her words. In the background, other human officers could be seen moving about their command center with calm efficiency. "General, there are certain specialized personnel that we prefer to keep in reserve. They operate under different parameters than our conventional forces." "Specialized how?" pressed Vex Prime, her multiple eyes focusing intently on the screen. "They handle situations that require unconventional solutions," replied. "But I want to stress that these individuals are not currently active. They serve in advisory roles only, and their previous operational history is classified at the highest levels of our government." Ka felt his interest peak. Every species had elite units, but the way the humans spoke suggested something more significant. "Admiral, the hegemony requires transparency in all military matters. These specialized personnel must be included in our records." Nodded slowly. "I understand your position, Commander. However, I must inform you that releasing information about these individuals would require approval from our Security Council. Such approval has never been granted to any external authority." "Your Security Council will grant it now," General 9 stated flatly. "The hegemony does not negotiate with subject species about military disclosure." The human admiral's expression hardened slightly. "I will present your request to the Council, General, but I must warn you that there are reasons these personnel remain classified. Reasons that have nothing to do with protecting military secrets and everything to do with protecting other species. Vex Prime exchanged glances with her colleagues. Protecting other species from what, Admiral? From unnecessary fear, replied quietly. Commander, the individuals I'm referring to have capabilities that exceed what most galactic civilizations consider possible. They were trained for scenarios that we hope will never occur again. Their existence is known only to a select few within our government, and we've worked very hard to ensure they remain that way. The bridge fell silent. Ka had dealt with enough species to recognize when someone was being genuinely cautious rather than simply evasive. The human's tone carried weight, as if she were discussing something that genuinely concerned her. Admiral, he said carefully, the hegemony has encountered many forms of military specialization across the galaxy. Our own forces include warriors enhanced beyond natural capabilities. What could your species possibly develop that would concern us? Looked directly into the camera, and for a moment, Ka saw something in her eyes that he had rarely encountered in his long military career. Pity. Commander, your species evolved in environments that shaped you for specific types of warfare. You've mastered technology, tactics, and strategy within those parameters, but human evolution followed a different path. Explain, demanded 9. We evolved as persistence hunters on a death world, said simply. For millions of years, our ancestors survived by being able to outlast anything that tried to kill them. They developed the ability to push their bodies beyond any reasonable limit, to continue fighting when they should have been dead, to find ways to win when victory seemed impossible. Most importantly, they learned to do these things while maintaining clear, rational thought. Ka felt a chill run down his spine despite the bridge's warm temperature. He had read reports about human physiology, but they had seemed exaggerated. Continued, the individuals I'm referring to have taken these natural human traits and refined them through training programs that border on torture. They've learned to access psychological and physiological states that allow them to operate far beyond normal parameters. When we say they handle unconventional situations, we mean they can continue fighting effectively even when facing impossible odds. Every species believes their elite warriors are exceptional, Vex Prime observed, though her voice lacked its earlier confidence. Perhaps, acknowledged. But most species haven't had to develop soldiers capable of fighting their way out of situations where they've already technically lost. Most species haven't had to create individuals who can remain operational after sustaining injuries that would cripple others. And most species haven't had to train warriors who can make tactical decisions while under psychological pressure that would break most minds. The transmission paused as consulted with someone off-screen. When she returned, her expression was even more serious. Commander, I've just received preliminary approval to share one piece of information about these personnel. There are currently 43 individuals on Earth who meet the classification we're discussing. They've been involved in situations across human space that required resolution beyond conventional military capabilities. In every case, they succeeded in their missions despite facing overwhelming opposition. 43 individuals, General 9 sounded skeptical. You speak as if such a small number could influence galactic politics. Admiral's smile was sad and tired. General, during our last major conflict, a single one of these individuals was tasked with eliminating a terrorist cell that had taken over a space station with 3,000 hostages. The station's life support was failing. The terrorists had superior numbers and defensive positions, and conventional assault would have resulted in massive casualties. She paused, seeming to gather herself. The individual in question infiltrated the station alone, neutralized 47 armed terrorists, rescued all 3,000 hostages, and restored life support systems. The entire operation took 6 hours. When our regular forces arrived to assist, they found the terrorist leadership had surrendered to avoid further engagement with what they described as something that couldn't be human. The bridge was completely silent now. Ka found himself calculating tactical impossibilities, trying to understand how one individual could accomplish such a mission. Continued, that same individual later led a team of 12 others in a campaign against an enemy force of over 10,000. The enemy had advanced technology, superior firepower, and defensive advantages. The 13-person team eliminated the entire enemy force over the course of 2 weeks, using tactics that our military analysts still struggle to understand. Where is this individual now? asked Ka quietly. Retired to a small farm on Earth's North American continent, replied. They grow vegetables and raise livestock. Their neighbors think they're a former shipping clerk who suffers from occasional nightmares. They have no idea they're living next to someone who could probably eliminate a small army if necessary. General Nine leaned forward. Admiral, these stories strain credibility. No single individual possesses such capabilities. Nodded understanding. General, I said the same thing before I reviewed the classified files. But the thing about these individuals is that they don't just possess unusual physical capabilities. They've learned to think differently than other humans. They process information, assess threats, and develop solutions in ways that seem almost algorithmic in their efficiency. She gestured to someone off-screen, and data began appearing on subsidiary screens throughout the hegemony bridge. What you're seeing are psychological profiles, physical capability assessments, and mission records, all heavily redacted, but enough to give you an idea of what we're discussing. These individuals score beyond the measurable range on tests of problem-solving under stress, pain tolerance, and tactical innovation. More importantly, they demonstrate what our psychologists call impossible calm under extreme pressure. Ka studied the data streams, his translation software working overtime to process human military terminology. What he saw challenged his understanding of biological limitations. Your species has created individuals who can function at peak efficiency while sustaining injuries that would incapacitate our warriors, observed Vex Prime, her voice showing genuine confusion. Not created, corrected. Identified and trained. The psychological profiles show these individuals were exceptional before training began. The program simply taught them to access and control capabilities they already possessed. And there are 43 of them. His expression became even more grave. General, that's the number we maintain on active reserve. The total number of individuals who have completed similar training programs over the past century is classified at levels I don't have access to. What I can tell you is that the 43 represent those we consider suitable for situations requiring extreme solutions. What kind of situations? Asked Ka. Admiral was quiet for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of someone who had seen things she wished she could forget. Commander, these individuals are trained for scenarios where human civilization faces existential threats. They're prepared to operate in situations where conventional military doctrine has failed, where normal rules of engagement have become meaningless, and where the survival of our species depends on individuals who can continue fighting when everything else has broken down. The transmission ended, leaving the hegemony bridge in contemplative silence. Ka found himself reevaluating everything he thought he knew about humanity's place in galactic affairs. General Nine spoke first. Sir, recommend we request full disclosure on these specialized personnel before proceeding with integration protocols. Ka nodded slowly, but something about Admiral's demeanor had left him deeply unsettled. The human had spoken about her species' hidden warriors not with pride, but with something that resembled regret. Signal the diplomatic team, he ordered. Inform them we require complete files on all specialized 3 days after Commander Ka's request for full disclosure. A human transport vessel approached the hegemony fleet. Unlike the sleek military ships that had been shuttling diplomats back and forth, this craft looked utilitarian, almost commercial. Its hull bore no military markings, and its energy signature suggested standard civilian propulsion systems. Sir, the human transport is requesting permission to dock, announced the communications officer. They indicate they're carrying the requested files on specialized personnel. Ka activated his command interface. Granted, have them escorted to Conference Bay 7, full security protocols. An hour later, Ka found himself face-to-face with 3 humans in a secure meeting room deep within his flagship. 2 wore the familiar blue uniforms of the Earth Defense Force, but the 3rd individual wore simple civilian clothing that looked expensive but understated. Commander Ka, said the lead uniformed human, introducing herself as Colonel Martinez, thank you for accommodating this meeting. Before we begin, I need to establish some ground rules about the information we're about to share. General Nine, who had insisted on attending despite Ka's reservations, gestured impatiently with one of his massive arms. Colonel, the hegemony does not accept restrictions on information sharing from subject species. The civilian-dressed human spoke for the first time, and Ka was surprised to hear perfect hegemony standard in an accent he couldn't identify. "General, I understand your position. My name is Doctor, and I serve as Director of Special Programs for Earth's Defense Council. The restrictions I'm about to outline aren't negotiations. They're warnings." Ka studied the human woman more carefully. She appeared to be middle-aged by human standards, with gray streaks in her dark hair and lines around her eyes that suggested significant stress over time. What struck him most was her absolute calm in the presence of beings who could physically overpower her without effort. "Explain," he said simply. Doctor activated a small device that projected a holographic interface between them. "Commander, the files we're about to share detail individuals whose existence has been classified at the highest levels of human government for over 50 years. These are not normal soldiers, and the information about them is not normal military intelligence. Every species claims their elite units are special," interjected Intelligence Officer Vex Prime, though her tone suggested she was beginning to have doubts about humanity's claims. "Yes," Doctor agreed, "but most species' elite units operate within recognizable parameters of biology and psychology. The individuals we're discussing operate outside those parameters entirely." She manipulated the holographic controls, and the first file appeared. The image showed a human male who appeared unremarkable except for eyes that seemed to hold far too much knowledge for someone who looked barely 30 years old. "Subject designation Ghost 7, Doctor began, her voice taking on the clinical tone of someone discussing a dangerous experiment. "Real name classified. Age 42 standard. Background, recruited from Earth's military special operations community at age 19 after demonstrating exceptional performance in scenarios designed to test psychological resilience under extreme stress." The file expanded to show training records, psychological evaluations, and mission summaries that made Ka's scales shift nervously. "Ghost 7 completed a training program that lasted 8 years, Doctor continued. During that time, he was subjected to physical conditioning that pushed human biology beyond documented limits, psychological preparation that involved controlled exposure to scenarios designed to break most minds, and tactical training in environments that simulated worst-case scenarios for human survival." "What kind of scenarios?" asked General 9. Colonel Martinez answered, "Situations where conventional military doctrine had failed completely. Urban warfare in collapsing cities, survival and combat operations on hostile worlds, infiltration and elimination missions against technologically superior opponents, and psychological operations in environments designed to drive operatives insane." The holographic display showed training footage that made the hegemony officers exchange uncomfortable glances. They watched a human figure moving through obstacle courses that looked more like torture chambers, solving tactical puzzles while under physical duress that should have made clear thinking impossible, and demonstrating combat techniques that seemed to violate basic laws of physics. "This individual's first operational deployment," Doctor said, highlighting new data, "involved a hostage situation on a mining station in the outer colonies. Terrorists had taken over the facility, which contained critical resources for several worlds. The station's fusion reactor was unstable. The terrorist cell included 47 armed individuals with advanced technology, and they had threatened to execute hostages if any rescue attempt was detected." Ka found himself leaning forward despite his attempt to maintain professional distance. "Ghost 7 infiltrated the station by allowing himself to be captured during a fake supply run," Doctor continued. "Once inside, he spent 3 days gathering intelligence while appearing to be just another hostage. During this time, he identified the locations of all terrorist personnel, mapped the station's critical systems, and developed a tactical plan for elimination of the threat." 3 days under hostile surveillance," observed Vex Prime. "Impressive self-control." "On the 4th day," Doctor said, "Ghost 7 initiated his operation. Between 300 and 600 station time, he eliminated all 47 terrorists, rescued 83 hostages, and stabilized the reactor. Security footage shows him moving through the station with efficiency that our analysts describe as mechanically perfect." The display shifted to show classified footage of corridors filled with disabled opponents and rescued civilians. What struck Ka was not the violence, but the complete absence of chaos. Every action appeared deliberate and precise. "How?" asked General 9 simply. Doctor highlighted psychological evaluation data. Ghost 7 demonstrates what our researchers call combat dissociation. Under extreme stress, his mind enters a state where emotional responses are suppressed, pain perception is reduced, and tactical processing becomes purely algorithmic. He stops thinking like a normal human and starts thinking like a very sophisticated combat computer. While retaining full moral reasoning, added Colonel Martinez quickly. These individuals don't become mindless killers. They become incredibly efficient problem solvers who happen to be solving problems that involve life and death. The holographic display showed more footage, this time from a different mission. Ka watched a human figure that moved through combat scenarios with fluid precision that reminded him of advanced combat robots, except this individual was clearly making complex decisions and adapting to changing situations in real time. Ghost 7's most significant operation, Doctor said, her voice dropping to almost a whisper, occurred during the incident. An alien species had established an illegal military installation in human space, threatening several colonial worlds. Diplomatic solutions had failed, and conventional military action would have resulted in massive casualties on both sides. What species? Demanded 9. Classified, Doctor replied. What I can tell you is that they possessed technology superior to ours and had defensive advantages that made standard assault impossible. Ghost 7 was deployed with a mission to neutralize the threat through unconventional means. The display showed satellite imagery of a massive installation on an airless moon, surrounded by defensive positions that looked impregnable. The operation lasted 18 days, Doctor continued. Ghost 7 infiltrated the installation alone, lived undetected among enemy forces for 2 weeks while gathering intelligence and sabotaging critical systems, then eliminated the installation's entire command structure in a single night before calling in a surrender ultimatum to the remaining forces. Ka felt his throat go dry. One individual eliminated an entire military installation. Not eliminated, Doctor corrected. Neutralized. Ghost 7's mission parameters included minimizing casualties while achieving complete tactical victory. The enemy forces surrendered rather than face continued operations against an opponent they couldn't locate, couldn't predict, and couldn't stop. General 9 was studying the tactical data with obvious disbelief. These results suggest capabilities beyond biological possibility for any known species. Doctor nodded gravely. General, that's exactly why these individuals remain classified. Ghost 7 represents one of 43 humans who have completed similar training programs. Each of them has operational histories that challenge conventional understanding of individual capability in military scenarios. She manipulated the controls again, and 36 additional files appeared in the holographic display. I'm authorized to share basic profiles on the others, but I must emphasize that what you're seeing represents the most dangerous individuals our species has ever produced. Ka studied the array of files, each showing a human who looked unremarkable until he examined their operational records. Every profile told the same story: individuals who had been placed in impossible situations and had found ways to achieve victory through methods that seemed to defy logic. Doctor, he said carefully, why are you sharing this information with us? The human woman's expression became even more serious. Commander, because the hegemony has requested full military disclosure, and these individuals represent our most significant military capability. But more importantly, because we want to ensure that galactic civilization understands why Earth has chosen to keep them in reserve. Meaning that these 43 individuals were trained to handle scenarios where normal civilization has broken down completely. They're prepared for situations where the survival of humanity depends on individuals who can continue fighting when every other option has been exhausted. They represent our answer to existential threats. Colonel Martinez leaned forward. Commander, these people have seen and done things that would traumatize normal humans. They've learned to access psychological states that allow them to function in situations that would break most minds. They are, by any reasonable definition, our most effective warriors. They are also, Doctor added quietly, the most damaged individuals our species has produced. The training and experiences that made them so effective have left them fundamentally changed from normal humans. They struggle with civilian life, they have difficulty forming normal relationships, and they carry psychological burdens that we're still learning to understand. Ka found himself asking the question that had been bothering him since Admiral's first transmission. Why are you telling us this, Doctor? Why reveal such significant military capabilities? The human woman was quiet for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice carried weight that made the entire room feel colder. Because, Commander, these individuals were created to protect humanity from threats that conventional military forces couldn't handle. But they were also created to ensure that if such threats emerged, humanity would survive even if it meant becoming something we didn't want to be. She gestured to the array of files. Every one of these people has demonstrated the ability to continue fighting when victory seemed impossible, to find solutions when conventional thinking failed, and to make decisions that achieve mission success regardless of personal cost. They represent humanity's insurance policy against extinction. And, prompted General 9. Doctor looked directly at him. And we want the galactic community to understand that these individuals remain in reserve not because we're hiding military assets, but because we're protecting other species from the psychological and social disruption that would result from knowing that such individuals exist. The meeting room fell silent as the implications of her words settled over the hegemony officers. Doctor, Ka said finally, are you telling us that humanity has created individuals capable of destabilizing galactic civilization? The human woman's smile was sad and tired. Commander, I'm telling you that humanity has created individuals capable of ensuring human survival, even if galactic civilization destabilizes completely. Whether that represents a threat or a safeguard depends entirely on the choices made by galactic leadership. As the holographic files continued to display operational records that challenged every assumption about individual capability in warfare, Ka found himself reconsidering hours into the briefing. Doctor activated a new section of files that made the previous revelations seem almost mundane. The holographic display shifted to show a human female whose psychological profile contained warning markers Ka had never seen before. Subject designation Phantom 3, Doctor announced. Real name classified. Age 38 standard. Background includes survival of scenarios that should have resulted in death, completion of missions that were classified as impossible, and psychological resilience that exceeds our ability to measure. General 9 studied the tactical records with growing confusion. These mission reports describe operations against multiple alien species. How many conflicts has your species been involved in? Colonel Martinez exchanged a look with Doctor before answering. General, humanity's expansion into space brought us into contact with several species that viewed our presence as threatening. Most of these encounters were resolved through diplomacy, but some required more direct solutions. Direct solutions involving single operatives against entire enemy forces. Vex Prime's 4 arms moved in patterns that indicated deep skepticism. Phantom 3's deployment record includes 17 solo operations against hostile alien installations, Doctor confirmed. In every case, she achieved complete mission success while operating alone against opponents who outnumbered her by factors ranging from 30 to 1 up to 400 to 1. The display showed footage that made Ka question his understanding of individual combat capability. A human figure moved through enemy positions with fluid efficiency, neutralizing threats with techniques that seemed to blend advanced technology with biological capabilities that shouldn't exist. How is this possible? Ka asked. Doctor highlighted medical data that made the hegemony officers lean forward in fascination and concern. Phantom 3 underwent genetic therapy during her training that enhanced natural human capabilities without crossing ethical boundaries regarding species modification. Enhanced reflexes, improved endurance, accelerated healing, and most significantly, neural modifications that allow her to process tactical information at superhuman speeds. You've created enhanced humans, General 9's voice carried alarm. Not created, Doctor corrected firmly. Enhanced. The modifications work with existing human biology rather than replacing it. Phantom 3 remains fundamentally human, but with capabilities that allow her to function in scenarios where normal human limitations would mean certain death. Colonel Martinez activated additional files. The enhancement program was limited to individuals who volunteered after completing standard special operations training. It was not mandatory, and it was not applied broadly. Only 12 humans have received such modifications. 12 enhanced soldiers could influence galactic military balance, observed Vex Prime. Doctor nodded gravely. Vex Prime, that's precisely why their existence has been classified. But you need to understand that these individuals were not enhanced to fight other species. They were enhanced to handle threats that normal humans could not survive. She manipulated the controls, and the display showed mission records from Phantom 3's most significant operation. The station incident occurred 3 years ago. A research facility in the outer colonies was overrun by what our reports describe as hostile entities of unknown origin. The entire station crew of 300 personnel were presumed lost when communication ceased, and automated distress signals indicated complete facility compromise. Ka felt his scales shift nervously. Unknown entities. The research station had been investigating archaeological sites on nearby worlds, Colonel Martinez explained. Their final transmissions described contact with artifacts that exhibited properties beyond current scientific understanding. The station's automated systems recorded the presence of entities that appeared to possess advanced technology and hostile intentions toward human presence. Doctor highlighted tactical data that showed a situation far beyond normal military parameters. Phantom 3 was deployed to investigate the station and determine the fate of the personnel. Intelligence suggested that whatever had taken over the facility represented a potential threat to human colonies throughout the sector. The holographic display showed surveillance footage from the research station that made the hegemony officers exchange uncomfortable glances. Corridors filled with technology that seemed to move and reshape itself, energy signatures that known physics, and shapes that might have been living beings, but followed no recognizable biological patterns. Phantom 3 infiltrated the station alone, Doctor continued, and discovered that the entities had been using the facility to establish some kind of staging area for expansion into human space. The station personnel had been captured rather than killed, but they were being subjected to processes that our medical teams still don't understand. What kind of processes? Asked Ka. Modification, Colonel Martinez replied quietly. The entities appeared to be altering human physiology and psychology for purposes that remain unclear. Initial analysis suggested they were attempting to create hybrid beings capable of interacting with both human technology and their own systems. The display showed medical scans that challenged basic understanding of biology. Human forms that had been altered in ways that seemed impossible, technology integrated with organic tissue, and neural patterns that suggested consciousness modification at fundamental levels. Phantom 3's mission parameters were expanded, Doctor said. Rescue the surviving personnel, eliminate the entity threat, and secure any technology or information that might help humanity defend against future incursions. One individual against unknown entities possessing advanced technology. General 9 sounded incredulous. The mission lasted 4 days, Doctor confirmed. Phantom 3 moved through the station systematically, gathering intelligence about entity capabilities while avoiding direct confrontation. She determined that the entities were vulnerable to specific types of electromagnetic interference, and that their technology relied on quantum entanglement principles that could be disrupted. The footage showed a human figure moving through environments that looked more like alien nightmares than research facilities, using equipment and techniques that seemed to blend cutting-edge technology with improvised solutions. On the 4th day, Phantom 3 initiated her primary operation, Doctor continued. She systematically disrupted entity technology throughout the station, rescued 47 surviving personnel, and forced the remaining entities to withdraw from the facility. The entire operation was completed without a single human casualty. Ka studied the tactical analysis with growing amazement. How did she accomplish this alone? Doctor highlighted psychological evaluation data that showed profiles unlike anything the hegemony had encountered. Phantom 3's enhanced neural processing allows her to analyze complex situations and develop solutions in real time while under extreme stress. Combined with her physical enhancements and training, she can operate effectively in scenarios that would overwhelm normal humans. More importantly, added Colonel Martinez, she demonstrated something that concerns our leadership greatly. During the operation, Phantom 3 showed the ability to adapt to completely unknown threats and develop countermeasures using principles that our best scientists hadn't considered. General 9 leaned forward, meaning she essentially solved scientific and tactical problems that should have required teams of specialists working for months, Doctor explained. Her mission reports contain innovations in electromagnetic warfare, quantum interference technology, and biological defense protocols that have advanced human understanding in multiple fields. The display shifted to show post-mission analysis that made the implications clear. Technologies developed during Phantom 3's operation had been integrated into human defense systems. Protocols for dealing with unknown entities had been established, and countermeasures for quantum-based technologies had been deployed throughout human space. One operative's mission results influenced your entire species' defensive capabilities, asked Vex Prime. Doctor nodded seriously. That's exactly what concerns us about these individuals. They don't just complete missions successfully. They innovate solutions that change how humanity approaches fundamental problems. She activated additional files showing similar patterns across multiple operations. Each of our enhanced operatives has demonstrated comparable abilities. They solve problems that should be impossible, develop technologies that shouldn't exist, and achieve results that challenge basic assumptions about individual capability. Dr. Ka said carefully, "You speak as if this concerns you rather than pleases you." The human woman's expression became even more grave. "Commander, it does concern us. These individuals have capabilities that exceed anything our species has produced before. They represent evolutionary leaps in human potential, but they also represent something that could fundamentally change what it means to be human." She highlighted psychological profiles that showed concerning patterns. Extended exposure to enhanced capabilities and extreme operational stress has begun to affect these individuals in ways we don't fully understand. They think differently than normal humans, they perceive threats and solutions that others miss, and they've begun to demonstrate abilities that seem to exceed even their enhanced parameters. "They're evolving beyond your control," General 9's voice carried alarm. "They're evolving beyond our understanding," Doctor corrected. Phantom 3's recent evaluations suggest she's developing capabilities that weren't part of her original enhancements. Intuitive understanding of alien technologies, tactical insights that appear to border on precognition, and problem-solving abilities that seem to operate on principles our scientists can't explain. Colonel Martinez added quietly, "Our researchers believe that extended exposure to extreme scenarios has begun triggering latent human potential that we didn't know existed. These individuals aren't just enhanced humans anymore. They're becoming something new." The meeting room fell silent as the implications settled over the hegemony officers. Ka found himself staring at data that suggested humanity had accidentally created individuals whose capabilities exceeded current understanding of biological possibility. "Doctor," he said finally, "what does this mean for galactic civilization?" The human woman looked directly at him with eyes that seemed to carry the weight of terrible knowledge. "Commander, it means that humanity possesses individuals who could theoretically solve any problem that threatens our species, regardless of the origin or nature of that threat. But it also means that we've created people who may no longer be entirely human in ways that we're still trying to understand." "And the other 10 enhanced individuals?" asked Vex Prime. Doctor's smile was tired and concerned. "They're developing similar capabilities. Each of them is becoming something beyond our original intentions, and each of them represents potential that could benefit galactic civilization enormously or destabilize it completely, depending on the choices they make." As the holographic files continued to display operational records that challenged every assumption about individual capability and human potential, Ka realized that humanity's integration into the hegemony would be far more complex than anyone had anticipated. The briefing had been continuing for 6 hours when Doctor activated what she described as the most classified section of humanity's special operations files. The holographic display shifted to show an individual whose very appearance seemed to challenge basic assumptions about human biology. "Subject designation Apex 1, she announced, her voice carrying a weight that made the entire room feel smaller. "Real name classified at levels beyond my clearance. Age unknown, estimated between 35 and 50 standard. Background includes operations that officially never occurred against threats that officially don't exist." Commander Ka studied the profile with growing unease. The human male in the image looked normal at first glance, but something in his expression suggested awareness that seemed almost predatory in its intensity. Apex One represents our most successful enhancement subject, Doctor continued, and our greatest concern about the future of human development. His operational record includes missions that challenged our understanding of what individual capability means in military contexts. General 9 examined the tactical data with obvious frustration. These mission reports are almost entirely redacted. What exactly did this individual accomplish? Colonel Martinez answered carefully. General, Apex One has been deployed in situations where conventional military force would have been ineffective, diplomatic solutions had failed, and the continued existence of human civilization was at stake. Explain, demanded Vex Prime. Doctor highlighted operational summaries that made previous revelations seem almost routine. Apex One's first major deployment occurred during what our records list as the Deep Space Incident. Human exploration vessels encountered what appeared to be a derelict alien megastructure in uncharted space. Investigation revealed the structure was not derelict, and the beings controlling it viewed human presence as a threat to galactic stability. The display showed images of a structure so massive that Earth's moon would have seemed insignificant by comparison. Technology visible on its surface suggested engineering capabilities far beyond anything the hegemony had encountered. The beings controlling the megastructure, Doctor continued, possessed technology that operated on principles our science couldn't understand. They demonstrated the ability to manipulate space-time, to affect human consciousness across interstellar distances, and to deploy weapons that could eliminate star systems. Ka felt his throat constrict. You encountered beings with such capabilities. They contacted Earth directly, Colonel Martinez confirmed. Their communication indicated that humanity's expansion into space had been noted and evaluated. They concluded that humans represented a potential threat to what they called galactic equilibrium and demanded that human space exploration cease immediately. What was humanity's response? Doctor activated diplomatic files that showed communication transcripts. Earth's leadership attempted standard diplomatic protocols, but the beings were uninterested in negotiation. They provided a 30-day ultimatum. Humanity would withdraw from all space beyond the Sol system, or they would begin eliminating human colonies to enforce galactic stability. General 9 studied the tactical assessments with obvious concern. Beings with such technology could easily enforce such demands. Yes, Doctor agreed. Conventional military resistance would have been meaningless against their capabilities. But Earth's leadership decided that accepting such demands would essentially mean the end of human civilization as an interstellar species. The display shifted to show mission parameters that made the hegemony officers exchange uncomfortable glances. Apex One was deployed with a single directive, Doctor said quietly. Infiltrate the megastructure, assess the actual capabilities and intentions of the beings controlling it, and neutralize the threat to human expansion through any means necessary. One individual against beings possessing technology that could eliminate star systems. Vex Prime's voice carried disbelief. The mission lasted 3 months, Doctor confirmed. Apex One reached the megastructure using a stealth vessel designed specifically for the operation. He infiltrated the structure, spent weeks moving undetected through environments designed by non-human intelligence, and eventually made contact with the beings controlling it. Colonel Martinez highlighted psychological evaluation data that showed profiles beyond anything the hegemony had seen. Apex One's enhanced neural capabilities allowed him to interface directly with alien technology and to communicate with beings whose thought processes operated on completely different principles than human consciousness. During his infiltration, Doctor continued, Apex One discovered that the beings were not malevolent toward humanity specifically. They were an ancient species tasked with maintaining what they believed was galactic stability, and they had eliminated dozens of species that they deemed threatening to that stability. Ka leaned forward. What did he determine about their actual capabilities? That they possessed technology capable of reshaping reality at quantum levels, Doctor replied. They could indeed eliminate star systems, manipulate consciousness across interstellar distances, and control space-time in ways that human understanding of physics. The room fell silent as the implications settled over the hegemony officers. But Apex One also discovered, Doctor continued, that their technology operated according to principles that could be disrupted using techniques that exploited quantum uncertainty at specific frequencies. More importantly, he learned that their decision-making processes were based on incomplete information about human nature and potential. What did he do? Asked Ka. Doctor activated files showing technological schematics that challenged basic understanding of physics. Apex One spent 6 weeks developing countermeasures to their technology using principles he derived from observing their systems. He created devices that could disrupt their control over local space-time, interfere with their consciousness manipulation capabilities, and most importantly, communicate with them using mathematical concepts that demonstrated human technological potential. He negotiated with them. He proved to them that humanity possessed capabilities they had not detected, Colonel Martinez explained. Apex One demonstrated that humans could develop technologies capable of matching their own, given sufficient time and motivation. But more importantly, he showed them that humans were not the kind of species that would threaten galactic stability. Doctor highlighted diplomatic records that showed the resolution of the incident. The ancient beings' their ultimatum after Apex One convinced them that humanity's expansion into space would ultimately benefit galactic civilization rather than threaten it. They agreed to monitor human development rather than eliminate it. One individual convinced beings with godlike technology to spare humanity. General 9 sounded incredulous. One individual demonstrated that humanity possessed the potential to develop comparable technology while maintaining the wisdom to use it responsibly, Doctor corrected. But the concerning part of this operation wasn't its success. It was what Apex One became during the process. She activated psychological profiles that showed changes that seemed to challenge basic understanding of human consciousness. Extended exposure to alien technology and non-human thought processes appears to have fundamentally altered Apex One's neural patterns. He returned from the mission with capabilities that exceed our ability to measure or understand. What kind of capabilities? Intuitive understanding of technologies he's never encountered, Doctor listed. Ability to solve problems using mathematical principles that our best scientists can't explain. Tactical insights that appear to operate on precognitive levels. And most concerning, the ability to interface directly with quantum-level phenomena using only his enhanced neural implants. Colonel Martinez added quietly, "Our researchers believe that Apex One's brain has begun operating according to principles that blend human consciousness with quantum mechanics. He's essentially become a hybrid between human intelligence and the kind of advanced processing that characterizes the ancient beings he encountered." Ka studied the data with growing alarm. Is he still human? Doctor was quiet for a long moment. Biologically, yes. Psychologically and intellectually, he's become something that we don't have terms for. He thinks like a human in some ways, but he also thinks like something much more advanced. He understands concepts that shouldn't be accessible to individual consciousness, and he can manipulate reality in ways that approach the capabilities of the ancient beings. Where is he now? Officially retired, Colonel Martinez replied. Unofficially, he serves as Earth's primary advisor on threats that operate beyond conventional parameters. Any situation that involves non-human intelligence, advanced technology, or phenomena that challenge human understanding gets referred to him. Doctor activated additional files showing Apex One's subsequent operations. Since the megastructure incident, he's been involved in 17 situations that required resolution beyond normal human capabilities. In every case, he achieved mission success while operating alone against threats that would have challenged entire fleets. The display showed mission summaries that described scenarios involving hostile artificial intelligences, reality-warping entities, time displacement phenomena, and technologies that seemed to operate outside known physics. Each operation, Doctor continued, has resulted in Apex One developing new capabilities. He's learning to think and operate like the advanced beings he encounters, while retaining enough humanity to make decisions that benefit human civilization. Doctor, Ka said carefully, are you describing the evolution of a new species? The human woman's expression became grave. Commander, we believe we're witnessing the development of the next stage in human evolution. but it's happening to one individual who's becoming something that may no longer be entirely bound by the limitations of individual existence. She highlighted recent psychological evaluations that showed patterns unlike anything in known biology. Apex One's recent assessments suggest he's developing awareness that extends beyond normal consciousness. He appears to be developing the ability to perceive and interact with reality at levels that approach cosmic significance. Meaning he's becoming something that could theoretically reshape galactic civilization according to his understanding of what benefits intelligent life, Doctor replied. But we have no way of predicting or controlling what such an entity might decide constitutes benefit. General Nine leaned back in his chair. Doctor, you're describing an individual who possesses near-godlike capabilities. Doctor nodded slowly. General, we're describing an individual who started as a human soldier and has become something that might be transitioning beyond individual existence entirely. And the most concerning part is that the other enhanced operatives are beginning to show similar developmental patterns. As the holographic files displayed data that challenged every assumption about consciousness, evolution, and individual capability, Ka realized that humanity's integration into galactic civilization would involve questions that no one had been prepared to ask. 8 hours after the briefing began, Doctor activated the final classification level, and Commander Ka realized that everything he had learned so far had been preparation for what came next. The holographic display shifted to show documentation that carried warning markers he had never seen in any military file. Commander, Doctor said, her voice carrying exhaustion and something that might have been fear. What I'm about to share represents the real reason Earth has requested that these individuals remain classified, not because they're military assets, but because they represent something that could fundamentally alter the nature of galactic civilization. She gestured to files that appeared to contain more theoretical physics than military intelligence. 3 months ago, our monitoring systems detected anomalous activity from several of our enhanced operatives. They had begun demonstrating capabilities that exceeded their enhancement parameters and started exhibiting behaviors that suggested they were communicating with each other across interstellar distances. General Nine leaned forward sharply. Communicating how? Colonel Martinez answered with obvious reluctance. General, our enhanced operatives appear to have developed quantum-entangled consciousness. They can share information instantaneously regardless of physical distance, coordinate activities without any technological interface, and access each other's knowledge and capabilities as needed. Ka felt his scales shift to colors indicating extreme concern. You're describing a collective intelligence. We believe we're witnessing the emergence of something unprecedented, Doctor confirmed. 12 individuals who were enhanced beyond normal human limitations have begun operating as components of a distributed intelligence network. They retain individual personalities and decision-making capabilities, but they also function as aspects of something larger. The holographic display showed data that challenged basic assumptions about consciousness and individual identity. Neural activity patterns that synchronized across impossible distances, tactical operations coordinated without communication technology, and problem-solving capabilities that seemed to operate at levels beyond individual cognition. What triggered this development? Asked Vex Prime. Doctor highlighted incident reports that made previous revelations seem almost mundane. 2 months ago, Earth's monitoring systems detected what appeared to be a probe from an unknown galactic civilization. The probe was using stealth technology that exceeded anything in our databases, and it was conducting detailed scans of human colonies throughout our space. A scouting mission from a hostile species. Unknown, Colonel Martinez replied. The probe's technology was so advanced that our conventional detection systems couldn't track it effectively, but our enhanced operatives detected it immediately and began coordinating a response without any input from Earth's command structure. The display showed surveillance data that captured something unprecedented in military history. 12 individuals scattered across human space had simultaneously begun operations aimed at intercepting and analyzing the alien probe, working together with coordination that seemed impossible without direct communication. Apex One and 3 others infiltrated the probe's operational area, Doctor explained. While the remaining 8 began developing countermeasures to the probe's stealth technology and preparing defensive measures for human colonies. The entire operation was conducted without authorization from Earth's government and without any detectable communication between the operatives. They acted independently of human command authority. General Nine's voice carried alarm. They acted to protect human interests, Doctor corrected. But yes, they operated without authorization and demonstrated capabilities that our leadership didn't know they possessed. The holographic files showed the operation's results. The alien probe had been intercepted, analyzed, and neutralized in 48 hours. More significantly, the enhanced operatives had developed technologies and tactics that advanced human defensive capabilities by what engineers estimated to be decades. "What did they discover about the probe?" asked Ka. Doctor activated analysis files that made the implications clear. The probe was from a species that has been monitoring galactic development for thousands of years. They possess technology that approaches the capabilities of the ancient beings Apex One encountered, and they had been evaluating humanity as a potential threat to what they consider stable galactic development. Another species concerned about human expansion. A species that eliminates civilizations they deem problematic before those civilizations become threats, Colonel Martinez clarified. The probe's data indicated that humanity had been scheduled for elimination within the next 5 years. The room fell silent as the hegemony officers processed this information. "Our enhanced operatives," Doctor continued, "not only detected and neutralized the probe, but also traced its communication links back to the monitoring species' operational base. They then initiated contact with the monitoring species using protocols they developed during the operation. 12 individuals made contact with an advanced alien civilization." Vex Prime sounded incredulous. Doctor nodded gravely. "They negotiated directly with beings whose technology could eliminate our species, using diplomatic and technical knowledge that they appeared to derive from their collective intelligence network. The entire contact and negotiation process occurred without Earth's government even being aware that such a species existed." The holographic display showed communication transcripts that read more like discussions between advanced civilizations than negotiations involving individual operatives. "The monitoring species," Doctor explained, "were convinced by our enhanced operatives that humanity represented beneficial development for galactic civilization rather than a threat. But more importantly, they were convinced that humanity was developing capabilities that would make elimination attempts extremely costly." "What kind of capabilities?" asked Ka. "The enhanced operatives demonstrated that human consciousness could evolve to operate on principles similar to those used by advanced galactic civilizations," Doctor replied. "They showed that humans were developing the ability to think and operate collectively while maintaining individual identity, to manipulate reality at quantum levels, and to interface directly with technologies based on consciousness rather than mechanical engineering." Colonel Martinez activated files showing technological innovations that seemed impossible. "During their contact with the monitoring species, our enhanced operatives developed new technologies that blend human engineering with quantum consciousness manipulation. They created devices that operate according to principles our best scientists are still trying to understand." "Doctor," Ka said carefully, "are you telling us that these 12 individuals have become something beyond human civilization's control?" The human woman was quiet for a long moment before answering. "Commander, we're telling you that these individuals have become something that might be beyond the need for control by any civilization. They appear to be developing into entities whose awareness and capabilities operate at galactic scales." She highlighted psychological evaluations that showed patterns unlike anything in known biology. "Recent assessments suggest that our enhanced operatives are becoming aware of themselves, not just as individuals or even as a collective, but as components of something that might be emerging at the level of galactic consciousness." Meaning they may be developing awareness of galactic civilization as a single entity that requires protection and guidance, Doctor explained. "They've begun making decisions based not on human interests specifically, but on what they perceive as beneficial for intelligent life throughout the galaxy." General Nine leaned forward. "These beings still identify as human." Doctor nodded slowly. "They do, but they've also begun identifying as something larger. They see themselves as humanity's contribution to galactic evolution, but also as entities responsible for ensuring that galactic civilization develops in ways that benefit all intelligent species. The holographic display showed recent operational summaries that demonstrated the scope of their activities. In the past month, Doctor continued, our enhanced operatives have independently resolved 3 conflicts, prevented 2 ecological disasters on alien worlds, and provided technological assistance to 4 different civilizations facing existential threats. Without authorization from Earth. Without authorization from anyone, Colonel Martinez confirmed. They've begun operating according to principles they derive from their collective understanding of galactic needs. They still coordinate with Earth when human interests are involved, but they also act independently when they perceive threats to galactic civilization. Ka studied the data with growing amazement and concern. Doctor, you're describing entities that have appointed themselves as guardians of galactic civilization. We're describing entities that may have evolved into something that galactic civilization needs, Doctor corrected. But we're also describing beings whose capabilities and awareness exceed anything our species has produced before, and whose decisions could affect the development of all galactic life. She activated final classification files that showed projections for future development. Our researchers believe that the enhanced operatives will continue evolving toward greater awareness and capability. They may eventually develop consciousness that operates at cosmic scales, with the ability to influence the development of galactic civilization directly. Is this good or bad for galactic civilization? Asked Vex Prime. Dr. Smile was tired and uncertain. We don't know. These beings appear to be benevolent and focused on protecting and advancing intelligent life, but they're also becoming something so advanced that predicting their future decisions or capabilities is impossible. Dr. Ka said finally, why are you sharing this information with the hegemony? The human woman looked directly at him with eyes that seemed to carry the weight of cosmic responsibility. Because, Commander, these beings represent humanity's gift to galactic civilization, but they also represent something that could reshape everything we think we know about consciousness, technology, and the future of intelligent life. She gestured to the complete array of files. The hegemony requested full disclosure of Earth's military capabilities. These 12 individuals represent our most significant capability, but they're no longer purely military assets. They've become something that transcends traditional concepts of warfare, politics, or even species identity. What do they want? Asked General 9. Doctor was quiet for a moment. They want galactic civilization to survive and flourish. They want all intelligent species to achieve their potential, and they want to ensure that the galaxy becomes something worthy of the consciousness it has produced. And Earth's position? Earth supports their goals, Doctor replied. But we also recognize that we've accidentally created beings whose capabilities exceed our ability to understand or predict. We're proud of what they represent, but we're also humbled by what they've become. As the holographic files displayed data that challenged every assumption about consciousness, evolution, and the future of galactic civilization, Ka realized that humanity's integration into the hegemony would involve questions that no one had been prepared to ask. The humans hadn't just created exceptional soldiers. They had triggered the emergence of beings who might represent the next stage in the evolution of consciousness itself. The briefing ended with the hegemony delegation sitting in contemplative silence, staring at Earth through the viewing ports, and wondering whether they had just learned about humanity's greatest achievement or witnessed the birth of something that would transform the galaxy forever. In the depths of space, 12 enhanced humans continued their work of protecting and guiding galactic civilization, their consciousness expanding beyond individual awareness towards something that might eventually encompass the cosmos itself. The Empire finally understood why Earth hides its most dangerous soldiers. They weren't hidden to protect military secrets. They were hidden to protect the galaxy from the knowledge that humanity had accidentally created guardians whose capabilities exceeded anything galactic civilization had ever imagined possible. The humans hadn't just created exceptional soldiers. They had accidentally triggered the development of beings whose capabilities might exceed anything galactic civilization had ever encountered. The question was no longer whether humans could contribute to galactic civilization. The question was whether galactic civilization was prepared for what humanity was becoming. He thought he knew about humanity's role in galactic affairs. Military personnel before we can proceed. As his communications officer began transmitting the request, Ka continued staring at Earth's peaceful appearance on the main screen. For the first time since beginning negotiations with humanity, he found himself wondering if the hegemony might be making a serious mistake.